Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So, I had a few other videos lined up that I was planning on posting either today or tomorrow, but then I came across this video a couple of days ago. It's not new. I think it came out a few years ago, and it's a video by an Instagram profile. I like this guy's profile. I've been following him for a while. He's a lot more popular on Instagram than he is on YouTube, but this particular video I saw that I'm going to react to was actually on YouTube. So I wanted to discuss it today because, again, it talks a lot about everything that I've talked about. I like to share these type of videos because people, I love seeing what people have to say in the comment section. Whether you agree or you disagree, I'm going to just keep presenting the evidence, let the people decide what they believe or what they don't, let Brazilians speak on, if they agree with what I'm saying, I disagree. There's always going to be a healthy debate. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to waste my time when I see people come back constantly with the same points that they're making. I'm just, I'm giving an idea of, Black Brazilians have for years now been speaking out on how they feel, how Brazilian society treats them. For years, Brazilian society was successful in deceiving the world into thinking we don't have these type of race problems. One of the ways that I like to speak on how Brazil has dealt with race is the reaction of the people who are the victims of the racist sentiments and the actions and the jokes and all these types of things. You read the comments about what the people are saying, and again, you make the judgment. Okay, I'm just going to present the material, for people who may not be aware of this, people who are aware and will deny it, whatever. Point is, I just want to present the material, and you all are free to debate on how you should interpret it, right? So today, I'm calling the video "Violence, Whiteness, and Racism: The Brazilian Fear of Having Black Children." Before I get into the video I'm going to react to and all the context that I like to put behind it, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell. With that said, let's get into the video and the subject that I'm analyzing today. Okay, so some of the main topics that I'm going to be talking about here is, an ongoing discussion of Brazil's theory of embranquecimento, which means whitening, which means Brazilian society has always taught the darker elements, the Black and brown and indigenous people, that you should mix with whiter people so that you have whiter children. And when one day in Brazil, all the evidence of a Black brown population and indigenous population have just evaporated into this pool of whiteness, even if it's not really white, because in Brazil, a lot of the people who claim themselves to be white simply aren't, when it comes to world standards of what people consider whiteness. How people have reacted, the effects of Brazilian style racism, of Brazil's virulent strain of racism, it's harsh when people on social networks share how they have felt about certain topics over the years, and social networks just give people a platform to discuss this, and they come to find out that there's millions of other people. Oh wow, you felt that way growing up, I felt that way growing up as well. If people didn't have these sentiments, then how can you explain, okay, well, we don't have these race problems in Brazil, when there's, by now, in the last, I don't know, let's say 20 years of social networks, there's been millions of comments from, let's say, Black and brown Brazilians who have exposed what it felt like growing up under certain, let's say, attitudes that people have when it comes to people who deserve to be recognized as citizens between the white population and the non-white population. Okay, it's all in the comments. I'm going to share a few of these comments at the end of this video. These sentiments and attitudes in Brazil just come from a very virulent strain of anti-Blackness. I did a video a couple of weeks ago where a popular social network personality was talking about how people consistently was asking her, when are you going to get your nose done? It just goes to what I'm saying, is that Brazil has always rejected darker skin, kinky curly hair, thicker lips, wider noses, whatever that is associated with people of Africa, of West Africa. If they have those features, then people are going to face all sorts of racist comments and jokes to the point that they don't even want to have kids who look like that because they're afraid of their kids going through the same things that they went through. Okay. Then we talk about, again, racism in interracial relationships. It goes on and on. It's not Marcus saying this. This is what Brazilians, people who have dealt with this for so long and normalized it until they came to understand, wow, the jokes that the white part of my family would say about the black part of my family, that was not a good thing. But I used to hear it all the time and thought it was normal until I started understanding how racism works in Brazil. Okay. A lot of people are going through this situation where, and this is, again, I have to always say this. I'm not a person who's condemning interracial relationships. People do genuinely fall in love with people across racial lines, and I totally respect that. My problem is when people do choose because they believe one group of people is superior to another group of people. And it's not for me to say who are the people that have relationships that way. I mean, that's something for a person to come to their own, have their own self-analysis and say, dang, did I choose this person because I genuinely love this person, or did I choose this person because I was taught that they're the superior people and we could produce quote unquote better looking kids if that child comes out looking more like the whiter partner? That's not for me to decide, but I see that there's a lot of people who are coming to the conclusion once they have access to this information. It says, wow, here in Brazil, they teach us to want to be white. Okay, that's just the way it is. Let's be real about it. You talk to Brazilians long enough, and this is going to come out in the comments and the jokes. You know, the discourse, the everyday discourse. Everybody just kind of knows which group is considered superior in Brazil. Okay, I mean, what is there to argue about in terms of that? Even people who disagree with some of the things that I say. So the video that I'm going to react to is from a Instagram channel called AfroAema, which, again, I've reacted to several of his videos or some of the text that he writes on his channel. He put the two words together, Afro, meaning African descendant, and estima. So instead of saying autoestima, which means self-esteem, he's saying Afroestima, being having high self-esteem in your African ancestry is basically what he's saying. That's this guy right here. So I'm going to be reacting to his video. If you're a reader of Portuguese, be sure to check out his channel on Instagram. His real name is Moro Barasho. A lot of good material that he puts out. You know, I'm gonna have to go back. There's just numerous videos that he has. I happen to find this particular video that I'm going to react to today on YouTube. Most of his following, 137,000 followers, are actually on Instagram. He does a lot of like classes online. He does specials where he's discussing a particular topic, and people will come in and sit in and listen to what he has to say. He exposes a lot of things, and when you read the comments, people are always thankful for thank you for sharing this topic, because this is something that I've always felt. So you're going to see that this is similar in this video. This is something that he hit on that a lot of people are agreeing with, like it explains a part of their lives. So let me get into just doing a reaction to his video, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more. I have a lot of the photos, the pictures that I have here actually come from the blog blackbraziltoday.com. You can go over there, and some of the articles that I have here, you can just type in the titles of these articles and you'll see them at blackbraziltoday.com. So anyway, let me get into what the Autoestima IG page had to say on this particular video. At the beginning of the week, I raised a question about Black people who are afraid of having Black children. And I think this fear is fundamentally based on two reasons. The first is eugenics. It's the fear of having children with dark skin, kiki hair, and thick features. The inability to imagine that a person with these characteristics could be considered beautiful. And even hearing some reports from Black people who have relationships with white people, who at some point in relationship make that comment, but if we have a child, he'll get your hair, he'll have your mouth, he'll have your nose. There's even a video, which I think is by Yuri Marçal, who talks about this, who went through an experience like this. And this ends up affecting us to a certain extent, because many of us still have a lot of problems dealing with our appearance. And there's this fear of not having a child who looks like the ones in the margarine or butter commercials. The second reason I think is very much linked to the violence that comes from racism. For For
país em que
example,
a
the
cada
idea of
10
having a black
homicídios,
child in a
7 são de
country where
jovens
7
negros,
out of every
um
10
perfil
homicides
preto,
are
um
of young
país em que
black people. Having a black
a maior
child in a
parte da
country where
população
most of the
carcerária é
prison
formada
population is
por
made up of
pretos e
black and brown
pardos,
people,
que as maiores vítimas
that the
de
biggest
suicídio
victims of
são jovens
suicide are
negros,
young black
o
people.
medo mesmo de ter um filho e não saber, e quando ele sair, não saber se ele vai
The
voltar para
fear of
casa
having a child
por
and
conta de
then
violência
not knowing if he's
policial,
going to come home because
e,
of police
enfim.
violence.
Gostaria
Anyway,
de
I'd like to
comentar mais um,
comment
acrescentar
on one
mais um
more,
desses
add one
motivos,
more of these
que
reasons,
foi de um
which was
comentário
a
que eu vi numa
comment I saw
postagem
on
do
a
meu filho,
post
de
I
uma
made by a
moça
girl
falando
saying that she was
que
always
sempre
afraid
teve
of
medo
having
de
black
ter
children.
filhos negros mesmo, e por isso ela
And
optou
that's why
por
she
se
chose to
casar
marry
com
a
um homem
white man,
branco,
because
porque
she
ela
was
tinha
afraid
medo
of
de ter
having a
uma
black
filha
daughter.
negra
And having
e
to
ter que
explain
explicar
to
para
her
ela
what
que a
loneliness
solidão
is, having to see her
ter que ver
alone, being
ela
passed over,
sozinha nessa
and having to deal
periferia
with it, having
e
to
ter que
see
lidar
her
com isso
go
e ver ela
through everything
passando
she
por
went
tudo que
through,
ela
that her
passou, né,
mother
que a
went
mãe
through,
passou,
and everything.
e para ela isso era uma questão, e isso fez com que ela optasse e se
And
relacionar com uma
and for
pessoa
her,
branca,
this
né,
was
para
an
não
issue, and this
ter
made her choose to have a
uma
relationship
filha
with a
que
white
fosse
person,
passar
so
por
as
tudo
not
que
to
ela
have a daughter
passou.
who would
E
go through
sobretudo também
everything
esse
she
vídeo não é
went
nem
through.
para
Above all,
propor
this video
solução
isn't
ou
even
passar
about
mensagem
proposing a solution
positiva,
or giving
e
a
é mais para
positive
abrir o
message.
diálogo mesmo, e ver como a gente vai, como a gente pode fazer não um Brasil melhor sem racismo, porque eu não acredito nisso, mas como podemos nos tornar uma
It's more
comunidade
about
melhor
opening up a dialogue and
a
seeing how we
partir da
can make Brazil
reflexão
better.
desses
Not a
temas e do
better
debate
Brazil
desses
without
temas.
racism, which I don't
E eu
believe
gostaria de
in,
saber de
but
vocês
how we
também,
can
né?
make a
Comentem
better
para vocês que
community by
são pais, que
reflecting on
são
these
mães de
issues,
meninos e
debating these
meninas
issues.
pretas,
And I'd like to know from
como é
you
que é
what
isso
it's
para
like for
vocês, né?
you
Como,
who
como
are
é
fathers,
lidar
who are
com esse
mothers of
medo
black boys and
diário
black
e das
girls.
pessoas que pensam, né, em ter
What's
filhos,
it like for you?
e esses filhos
What's it
provavelmente
like
vão
dealing
ser
with this
filhos
daily
pretos,
fear and
né?
people who are thinking of having children, and these
Como
children will
vocês
probably
lidam com
be
essa
black
ideia de ter
children?
filhos pretos no
How do you deal
Brasil,
with
que é
this idea of
extremamente
having black
racista?
children in Brazil?
E no mais
Isn't
é
it
isso, eu queria
extremely
saber de
racist?
vocês,
And that's it. I
de
wanted to
como
hear
vocês
from
lidam
you
com isso, né?
how you deal with it. So anyway, you heard what the autoestima page had to say. He brought out just a lot of points here, a lot of things that I've touched upon just over the course of making videos for blackbraziltoday.com. The idea Brazil had a eugenics movement. Eugenics in Brazil in the early 20th century, elites believed racial improvement was only possible with a project favoring predominance of the white race. So they opened up Brazil's borders to 4 to 5 million European immigrants. After, with the coming of the abolition of slavery, they wanted to whiten the country, not only by increasing the numbers of white-looking people, but also, uh, you know, how can we say, encouraging people to have interracial marriages so that within 2 to 3 generations that the black or brown appearance of people would slowly disappear. So one point is the eugenics thing. People being in interracial relationships who have to hear from the white side of the family or hear from the white partner, like, well, I don't know if I want to have kids with you because they're going to come out looking more like you. They're going to have darker skin. They're going to have curlier hair. They're going to have a nose like yours, a mouth like yours. Can you imagine you're in a relationship and a white person says that to you? This is what I'm saying about the racial hierarchy in Brazil. He spoke about Yuri Masao, who is a popular black comedian. I did a video featuring Yuri maybe I think it was last week or the week before. Yuri has said some really just in your face, honest stuff about how race works in Brazil. If you understand Portuguese, you definitely want to check out some of his stuff. He also talked about saying, we have fear of not having children that look like the kids or the family that's in the margarine or butter commercials. Very typical. You know what the family looks like. Everybody has seen those happy-go-lucky families that, in the butter margarine ads or whatever food that they're promoting. Some years ago, this actor Érico Braz and his wife at the time, Kenya, and their kids, they started making a series of YouTube videos because they noticed how Black Brazilians were invisible. They were not used in television commercials using products that everybody uses. So they took it upon themselves to make a series of videos that's called Is It Good to You? It's a Tá Bom Pra Você. Here's a commercial of them. They're imitating what is it, a margarine butter commercial, and the whole family sitting around having breakfast with this. They call the commercial Black Margarine. They had a number of other videos in the series. This is Black Margarine. This is a commercial for Black people who use toothpaste. We all use toothpaste. Wheat flour commercial. What is this? Black Lively, Free Black. So it was a lot of. This was a nice series back in the day because it was. Black Brazilians talking about the invisibility that they have because Brazilian television doesn't present, Black people in just regular everyday things that people do. So they took it upon themselves like, look, if we want representation, we have to do it for ourselves. So that's what he meant by, having kids that look like the kids in the margarine and butter commercials, as they're always white families in Brazil as well. Then he talked about this fear, not only of having a child that's physically Black, but how having the black phenotype makes a girl or a boy just more prone to being harassed by police and losing their lives in some type of police operation, particularly in the poor neighborhoods. I've done a lot of stories about that. Back in 2015, 2016, this was a stat that everybody was saying, like every 23 minutes, a black youth in Brazil loses their life or because of some violence, right? Whether it's because of everyday street violence or because of police violence, right? The biggest victim of self-deletion, the S word, is also comes out of young black people. So these are things that people are always talking about. This is why these are some of the points that he's making in the video of, okay, people also have fear. Like, dang, the black phenotype is not what people don't want in Brazil. They've been taught to adore whiteness. So besides the element of what they look like, but also the fear, I let my child go out to, play soccer or go to school or whatever. It's always a fear of a black parent that that child may not come home that day. Then we say that Brazil is popular has recently in the last, let's say, 2 decades, the prison population in Brazil has exploded. I think Brazil is like number 3 or 4 in the world in terms of how many of its citizens is locked up. Right. This is an article from might be the comparison between 23 and 2022. 852,000 people, in prison in Brazil, with the majority being young black males. Okay. And I think in that statistics, they're talking about the combination of pretos and pardos, black and brown people. He saw a particular post where he saw a girl that was saying she was afraid of having black children. Uh, Another girl who chose to marry a white man because she was afraid of having a black daughter, having to explain why, if you're born as a black girl, you might have more problems securing a long-term relationship. I've talked a lot about that. Black women feel like they're being passed over by black and white and black men because of everybody's standard of beauty and femininity and womanhood is supposed to be the white woman. People have fear of their children being bullied. See if I can read this. The background makes it a little bit difficult. To think that your child will suffer the same way that you did, and having fear of racism, how racism impacts the decision of black children or the decision of black people having children. So basically what they're saying, it's like society rejects the black child. We've seen that in several articles that I've done about racism in school. So this says a lot about Brazilian society, that people are afraid of having black children. They want to have a child. A lot of times it's not necessarily that they don't want to have a black child. They just have a fear of how society is going to deal with that black child, whether they're rejected in school, whether they're harassed by police, whether they're not considered the standard of beauty. They get pressure in the family saying you need to whiten the family, which I've talked a lot about, the theory of whitening or embranquecimento in Brazil. What else do we have here? Look at this headline right here. I'm a black woman and I don't want kids. Being a mother is difficult, but being being the mother of a black child is twice as bad. I mean, okay, again, I always have to point this out. This is not me saying it. You can freely go on the internet and find what people are talking about in terms of their fears. How is it that Brazilian society has affected the psyche of black Brazilians? These are all things that people are talking about. Let me see. Daily fear. How do you deal with the idea of having black children in Brazil? Isn't it extremely racist? This is why I say people can laugh and be like, oh, you're saying Brazil is more racist than the United States. Well, I know that most African Americans, I'm not saying that white supremacy and the white ideology and the adoration of whiteness has not affected black Americans, because it also has. But I see, when I interact with black Americans every day, it's not a second thought that they would have black children. It's like, I'm black, my partner is black, we're supposed to have black children. Whereas in Brazil, people are taught from the time that they're young, it's no use you having a black child. You need to go out and get a white partner. Produce lighter. You got to help us whiten the family. It's just a fact. Let's deal with it for what it is. So I want to talk a little bit about the comments that people made. I mean, when you read the comment sections of somebody's video or somebody's post or whatever, somebody's article, it's just like a gold mine. It's like the material is there. Okay, what are the people saying? So I'm gonna just read a couple of comments that actually came out of this video. You have the original Portuguese if people want to read that, and I just translated it. First comment says, I want to have children with a black woman to blacken my descendants. If we stay in this fear that our children will suffer what we suffer, it will not alleviate the suffering of blacks. We must make our children aware of the importance of recognizing themselves as black. This will help fight racism. A lot that he said there. Listen to what he said. I want to have children with a black woman so I can blacken my descendants, because nationwide, this is the ideal of people whitening. So he says, I'm pushing back. I want to have black kids. We have to teach our kids to recognize themselves as black, which has been a huge thing in Brazil for so many years. I've said this for a long time. We can never really know how many black people are in Brazil because so many people hide behind terms like pardo, mestizo, moreno, or whatever. So we must instill in our kids this pride of being black. Okay. Next comment. Okay. She says, I'm very afraid of having a child because we suffer more violence during pregnancy and childbirth. I'm afraid of having a black child because of the violence that this child would be subjected to because of racism. A sad reality, but I'm terrified just thinking about it. She says, I'm terrified just thinking about bringing a black child into the world. Think about that for a minute. Next comment. I've spent my entire childhood and adolescence telling my family that I wanted to marry a white man to have a white child. And I always heard from my uncles, that's it. You have to whiten the family. You say, tem que embranquecer a família. You have to whiten the family. Don't do it like your mother who decided to marry a black man. And worse, for a long time, I judged my mother for her choice too, because my dream was to have straight hair and light eyes. So my first boyfriend was black by chance of fate. And then the family made fun of me a lot. The relationship didn't work out, and I spent a lifetime chasing white men until I started to deconstruct myself. But by another chance of fate, I'm now in a relationship with a white man, and I fear from his family every day about wanting a granddaughter who takes after her father because I don't want a granddaughter with that hair. Although I always fight back, I feel sorry. It's very complicated. I think that in the world we're in, we all already imagine what our lives would be like if we were white, for the simple fact that facing racism every day hurts a lot. So if you could choose an easier life for your children, wouldn't you? Man, I almost feel like this comment says it all. I mean, she broke it down from what her family's going to say about having a black boyfriend. You're going to have black kids. You're not going to help us whiten the family. You know, if you can have your children avoid being humiliated because of being black, wouldn't you give them that hope? So then you try. She's openly saying, like, maybe I should have a child with a white man so that my child doesn't have to go through the same thing that I went through. So obviously, this woman's mother was black, so it sounds to me like she was actually mixed, and she's in the middle of that process of whitening. So she's getting pressure from everywhere, and she feels like, maybe I should just give in and have a child. You know, she's married to a white man. Maybe I should just have a child so that my child won't go through the same thing that I went through and what my mother went through. The family is making fun of her mother. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. That's it. You have to whiten the family. Don't do it like your mother who decided to marry a black man. There's a lot going on there. I have to try and sit back and figure out if she's saying, because she said her mother married a black man. I'm wondering if that's saying that her mother is white or her mother is black. I'm not sure. Anyway, a lot packed in that comment right there. I mean, that kind of says it all. But let's move on to the next comment here. I was married to a white man and had a white daughter. At that time, I didn't think about the pressure of racism. Now I'm married to a black man, and I'm scared to death of having a black child I want very much, but I'm afraid of what he might suffer because of the color of his skin. Then I look at my white daughter and think, gee, if someone says I'm her babysitter, it won't hurt as much as if I heard her suffering racism. This is very difficult. A lot going on there. Okay. She has a white daughter. She wants a black child, but she's afraid of what that black child is going to go through. She also said something else that's very common among black women in Brazil who have kids that look white. People always ask them, are you the babysitter? Are you the nanny of this child? It's a very common, it's a common phrase that people see when they say see the difference in skin color. That's kind of messed up. Always thinking that somebody that's your child, or you must be the babysitter of this child because this child is white and you're not. Let's see the next comment. Look, I'm not afraid of having a black child. Now I'm panicking about being in jail. I can't be a coward with my feelings and choices because of that. I don't know. I'd say forgive a black woman or man who thinks like that. Think again. This is racism. Ashamed of our race, of your race, or afraid that its fruit will suffer. Fat people suffer, people with pimples. Seriously, it's the racists and bigots who are wrong, because once you're born, whatever the color of your skin, we love you unconditionally, and we know that things aren't going to be easy. Okay, let's look at the next comment here. My fear was totally the opposite. I was married for 4 years to a white man, and my biggest fear was having a white child with him because they would always think I was the child's nanny, babysitter, and things like that. I have examples of friends who have white children and have experienced a lot of embarrassment because people didn't think they were the children's mother. And there have even been cases of having to call the police. A lot, man. I have articles on the blog where black men who have white children or close to white children, they've been accused of kidnapping the child. They have to prove that the child is theirs. So black Brazilians have a lot going on psychologically in terms of, like, you got to think this much about what your child is going to look like. What's society going to say? What racism is the child going to have to go through? The embarrassment of somebody always thinking that you're the maid. This is a lot going on here. I mean, this is not for people to think that this is supposed to be normal. So this is why I talk about this stuff. It's like, people don't like that this comes out, but I'm just saying this is Brazilian society. You know, if you live in Brazil and you grew up in Brazil, you know this is true. So I don't even know what the point is in denying it. This is why I like to peek in on these conversations, because people are talking about this stuff. Next comments. There's a lot of black women dumping a black man because of this. Like nowadays, the vast majority of superheroes are white. This causes a big effect on the minds of black men and black women. I've tried several times with the black girls in my city, but they have a taste for white men. Where does that come from? If everything that I'm saying, I'm just creating, I'm making fictitious stories about how Brazilian society is, where does that effect come from? Several times with the black girls in my city, but they have a taste for white men. Where does that come from, Brazil? If you think that's totally fine, if you think the adoration of whiteness is something normal, I would argue that that is racist. If we're all equal and Brazilians claim we're all equal, we don't have these problems, then why do people have this adoration of whiteness? Where does that come from? Is that a natural sense of inferiority among black people, or is this something that Brazilian society has basically put upon the black psyche? Let's have a debate. I mean, what do you think? I'm going to keep presenting. I'm going to keep bringing the receipts. Next comment says, a colleague of mine is afraid of having a black child. She claims she's afraid because of racism. Last comment said, sad reality. I mean, look, if you go to this video, you'll see all of these comments. I didn't just make these up. These are taken from the video that the AfroAema page posted his videos. These were the comments that people made. This doesn't have anything to do with me. All I'm doing is peeking in a conversation of what Brazilians are talking about. I mean, deal with that. Don't deal with how you might disagree with what I'm saying, because the proof is in the pudding. I say I created the YouTube channel and a blog because I wanted to give voice to the conversations that black Brazilians are having themselves. So don't come at the American throwing darts at me. This is what the black Brazilians are saying. Anyway, let me look at a couple of more context here. Okay, this was a huge story in 2015. Police took 100 shots. 5, I think they were black teens, young adults, lost their lives because of a police action. These types of stories are always happening in Brazil. I mean, I'm not even going to read these. Just, look at the titles. Go over to blackbraziltoday.com. There's almost 4,000 articles over there. And it makes my point. The G word of the young black population, the reason is racism. This has been a slogan for many years. Stop killing us. They're marching for the end of black genocide in Brazil. Okay. This woman, I featured her video a couple of months back. Black love can't heal us unless we deconstruct our adoration of whiteness, which is part of what people were saying in the other video. The problem with interracial love, we're very good at producing new rich white people, but we can't produce new rich black people. So this is what I'm saying. The conversation is going on. She's so white, she doesn't seem to be your daughter. How lucky she is. Journalist reveals episodes of racism experienced by black mothers and children. Popular black hairstylist celebrates the whitening of his family, from his darker skinned father, him, his lighter skinned son, and the near white granddaughter that he has. So I'm saying the defenders of white supremacy in Brazil, the more powerful than the KKK, like I said, the proof is in the pudding. Go to blackbraziltoday.com, just punch in keywords that you're looking for, and you'll see all of this stuff that I'm talking about. Okay. Anyway, I want to know what you all thought about today's video. This is a common question that Black Brazilian mothers hear when they in a interracial relationship and they produce lighter or white children. Will the baby be born light? So these are just some, these are all taken from, this is another article from another website, and this one as well. But this one also, all of those are in Portuguese, but this one is from Black Brazil Today. This is another ad from on the internet. This is from Black Brazil Today, Black Brazil Today. Go over to Black Brazil Today and you'll just read the full articles that I have posted. I'm always curious about what people think when I put up a video like this and I present the evidence. Let's get the conversation started. Drop a comment in the comment section. Want to know what your thoughts? What are your thoughts about today's video? Shout out to the AfroAema Instagram page. A lot of good stuff over there. Go check him out if you understand Portuguese. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Consider clicking on that notification bell so that you'll know when I put up a new video. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post at Black Brazil Today.